A succession of events took place in silence, revealing a network of deceit and criminality. Charlene, a member of the prison staff, started it all when she had an affair with an inmate. Charlene lost her job and could face legal consequences because federal law prohibits any sexual interactions between prison employees and inmates. A zero-tolerance policy against sexual assault in prisons was instituted after this occurrence.
Just called our 911. Called her back, and she said then that he had a gun. They were asking them to leave. So I don't know anything since then.
Okay. So nobody's here has been injured?
No, that's what I told him when I called. He told me that he was help.
At the same time, a frightening event took place in a residence. Authorities entered the building and found evidence of a fight in various locations. They found Kelly's motionless body in the kitchen, surrounded by evidence suggesting she had been murdered. The police had a quick and easy time zeroing in on William as their main suspect.
Which house?
This house right here.
Has anybody confirmed?
We have not confirmed. We just pulled up and just got what she stated.
All right, has anybody been in?
No, we just pulled up.
He's saying you're saying he called you.
Yeah.
Can we get anybody to the door? Where is he at?
We're having a approach.
All right, but I want to make sure he's not in here with a gun.
Kelly was a paramedic in Columbus, Georgia, who often went out of her way to help those around her. Those that knew her admired her, but Kelly kept a secret from everyone.
His formidable threat was due in no small part to his vast experience in SWAT and police tactics. But then, something out of the ordinary happened. The police were notified of William's car accident by phone call. They hurried to the hospital and quickly located their bleeding and battered suspect there. After William was released, the official investigation began in an interrogation room. Violation of office and possible complicity in Kelly's death were among the charges that loomed. William was asked about two women, Becky and Kelly, during the interview.
The purpose of this interview is just to talk to you about the case that we're working on, former Sergeant Talley. I know you had some type of relationship with him, whether it was a personal relationship, whether it was a friendship, or just as a co-worker. But we'll let you answer those questions. So we'll just start with just some brief questions about your knowledge about former Sergeant Talley. How long have you known him?
Oh man, ever since he's been here, several years.
Okay. Do you have any idea about how long he's been working here at the police department?
I really don't. I mean, off the top of my head, I would imagine over 10 years. I would think, I don't know, probably 10, 12 years.
Okay.
I really don't know.
How long have you been working here?
28 years.
Kelly was his lover, but it later came out that William was married to another lady named Rebecca Talley. William's expression changed from one of bewilderment to one of evident anguish, yet his veracity remained in doubt. William's feelings bubbled to the surface as the investigator continued to pry. His anger seemed genuine to some extent, but there was also the sense that he was just using it as a ploy to shift blame away from himself and vent his discontent with his current situation. The tense interview ended when William finally got a lawyer. William Halley knew that the ins and outs of the police department, but he was still given a life sentence since the evidence against him was so strong.
Became a team leader, because at that point we'd always, if we had a mission, I'd always get with him and we would talk about the mission and get a game plan together, do our ops plan and work that way.
It was a shock to all of us. Yeah. I understand. It's a shock all the way around, man. Yeah, both sides. Both sides, believe me. It's like, how do you come to this place? I mean, and then trying to...
We're all human, man. I see all that crap on Facebook and trying to blame the police. This ain't got nothing to do with police, ain't got nothing to do with anything. It's two human beings.
That's right.
Some people snap sometimes, no matter what their career is.
Oh, there you go.
They'll be flipping burgers, they're gonna snap the same way if you a cop, a judge, or whatever. Ain't got nothing to do with your career.
I agree.
The only lead that the police had was that he left the crime scene in Kelly's vehicle. They knew he had not only received police training, but SWAT as well, so he would be difficult to find.
The complexity and intensity of feelings involved in this case exemplified the determination of law enforcement to bring about justice. The case of Matthew Boynton is a disturbing tale of duplicity, intrigue, and suspected police misconduct. Unlike most police investigations, this one took an unexpected route that left everyone perplexed.
Arrested without incident and sent to the hospital.
from 12. Okay.
Sally, you know me, right, bud?
We're taking it no matter what, right?
With the bandit, yeah, remember? All right, brother. We're gonna take care of you now.
You ready for the handcuffs?
After William was cleared at the hospital, he was put into an interrogation room.
Hey, man. Want some water? Sure. A cup of coffee? You sure?
Well, we got a bottle of water here just in case you need it. Are you gonna be able to sit up for us?
Okay. Back hurting you?
On April 15, 2016, officers discovered Jessica Boynton concealed in a closet with a gunshot wound to her head and a police-issued pistol in her hand. The county sheriff proclaimed her dead at the scene, but a medical evaluation at the hospital showed a completely different scenario. There were no gunshot wounds or bullets, only evidence of a blunt force attack to the back of her skull. Jessica's condition, while critical, did not support the sheriff's determination.
You know how long you been in the hospital? Days. Days. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm here to tell you I'm not your judge, man, okay? I'm not your judge. But we brought you over here. Hopefully we can get a better understanding of maybe what happened on Saturday, Sunday. And hopefully we'll get your side of that, and you can kind of help shed some light on what happened out there, okay? And maybe some of the events that might have led up to this. All right. But before we do that, we got all your information written down here on advice for rights form. You got a bachelor's degree, right? All right. And so we're going to evaluate your rights, and then we'll kind of go from there, okay?
Matthew Boynton, a key figure in this confusing case, emerged as a leading suspect. He stated he received a text message from Jessica indicating she was thinking about suicide. He contacted the police after hearing 2 gunshots from their residence. During the police interview, however, Matthew's discrepancies became apparent. When questioned about a bag containing Jessica's personal stuff, his dishonest actions became clear. Matthew's long and rambling response to a basic question concerning the bag indicated to the police that he was not telling the truth. The detectives had suspected him of hiding something before, but now they were convinced. This bag, which contained Jessica's clothes and was discovered in Matthew's possession, proved that he had lied under oath.
Read this bottom portion, and if you're able to, when I finish up, if you would just initial on these lines saying you understand, if you're able to, and then sign it for me. The bottom portion is a waiver of rights. Says, I have read or have had read to me the above rights, and I understand what my rights are. I am willing to make a statement and answer questions without having a lawyer present at this time. I understand and know what I am doing. No promises or threats have been made to me, and no pressure or coercion of any kind has been used against me.
Can I ask what my charges are?
Yeah, right now you're charged with murder. You're charged with violation of oath of office, and you're charged with possession of a firearm during the commission of a crime.
The bag theft may seem little, but exposed Matthew's credibility issue. Most of his information may be false if he lied about that. He resigned from the police after confessing to taking the bag and lying under oath. The assault on Jessica and that sad night went unresolved, darkening the case. Matthew was never charged with these major crimes, creating police corruption accusations. The county sheriff, his grandfather, had initially declared Jessica dead at the scene, raising his suspicions. The head trauma erased Jessica's memory, therefore the night's events are unknown. This story is a disturbing reminder of power abuse and unsolved questions.
Well, I can tell you who, if we can get started there. And it is Kelly. No! Don't do that. No! No! Tally, come on. Tally. Bill. Bill. No! No!
A small, poorly lit interrogation room was tense. Stephanie Eileen Lazarus, a former top detective, sat across from two others, anxious. This strange and unnerving dialogue took place in a chilly, calculated interrogation room. The detectives, aware of Stephanie's background, had deceived her into working on a confidential investigation. They promised her the interrogation room was the safest location to talk. Stephanie, plainly uneasy, fidgeted and looked around.
Oh, Phil, let me get the nasty. Bill. Bill, no. Stop, Bill. Relax. Bill, stop. Relax.
I'm not here to judge, man. Just stop. Just stop.
Hey, you want some water? I think you need to have a sip of water. Relax.
Stop. It's all unnecessary, Bill. If you don't want to talk to us, that's fine, but let's not do this, okay? Okay? Let's not do this, okay?
The 1986 murder of Sherry Rasmussen went unsolved for 23 years. Shot 3 times, Sherry was found dead at home. It was initially assumed to be a bungled burglary, but the inquiry failed. Due to her intricate love triangle with Sherry and John Rutten, Stephanie was a potential candidate based on fresh DNA evidence. The investigators approached John warily, sensing Stephanie's uneasiness. Stephanie's irritation was clear. Her breathing accelerated and she got defensive. She strongly denied murdering Sherry and demanded to know if she was suspected.
Oh, God.
Billy, you don't want to talk to us? Are you aware that you have an attorney representing you or not?
Nobody's talking to me about anything.
Okay.
Stephanie hesitated when the competent detectives requested for a DNA sample, sensing the gravity of the issue. She considered legal representation. The investigators arrested her after gathering enough evidence during this tense conversation, despite her brief cooperation.
Who else did hurt?
Right now you're hurting yourself.
I don't care about me.
Well,
Who else did hurt?
there's no one
I
else.
keep hearing when people whisper, or whispers.
You keep hearing whispers? Okay. Well, what whispering do you hear?
No, tell me the truth.
Okay. There's no one else hurt. Okay. Everybody else is okay.
Kelly's dead.
Yes. Bill, let's not do this.
Take me back to jail.
Take you back to
Take
jail.
me back to jail.
All right. Calm down. We'll take you back. Okay?
Hey, look, why don't you sit up and hold your head up so all that blood don't rush to your head, okay? Sit up for me.
Okay.
Down. There you go. Sit up for me, man. Sit up. You got all that blood rushing down to your head. You know better than that, okay? Relax. Relax.
Months later, the courtroom would host this twisted drama's finale. Stephanie Lazarus was tried for murdering Sherry Rasmussen. The verdict was damning. First-degree murder. After 2 decades of hiding her guilt, Stephanie was sentenced to 27 years. The end of a famous investigator who had escaped justice for too long began with this weird and unsettling interrogation room showdown.
Police officers are charged with protecting the people, maintaining the law, and providing honorable and honest service to their communities. However, the repercussions can be severe and widespread when officers violate that trust and take part in corrupt practices. In this video, we'll look at several notorious instances of police misconduct and analyze how they affected society. So, let's get going. You've probably heard of police officers accepting bribes, but have you ever heard of the team's most popular officer being dishonest and carrying out his evil schemes in such a covert manner that not even his department is aware of it? So, how did he end up in custody? If you haven't heard of something similar, allow us to inform you that Sergeant Wayne Jenkins was a victim of it. A smart, crooked policeman. Sergeant Wayne Jenkins' eyes darted from screen to screen, sifting over the CCTV footage in the dimly lit city headquarters of the Baltimore Police Department. 2015's that day saw streets filled with boiling rage. On the west side of the city, police officers were being attacked with bricks. Some were hurt. Jenkins hurried after them. In the midst of shouting, sirens, and buzzing helicopters, he seized a state prison department van and helped pull injured cops inside when it was near Druid Hill Park. He intervened in the conflict and instructed the detective to take them to the hospital. A drug-dealing bail bondsman was awoken from his slumber several hours later in a peaceful waterfront district 15 miles east of the city center. His supplier required the disposal of 2 garbage bags full of prescription medications stolen from people who had also robbed pharmacy. Fresh after his heroic deeds in West Baltimore, Jenkins showed up. He opened the trunk and carried the pills inside the garage. After the bondsman handled selling them, the police sergeant and the latter would split the proceeds. Wayne Jenkins was living 2 lives at a time. He was already well known for running aggressive street squads at the age of 34. Later, he was in charge of the prestigious Gun Trace Task Force, one of the Baltimore Police Department's most effective tools for combating violent crime. He also served as the commanding officer of a team of police officers who engaged in robberies and narcotics trafficking. Jenkins and 6 members of his gun task force were charged with federal racketeering in March 2017, which shocked Baltimore. Many robberies, extortion, and overtime fraud were all allegedly committed by a group of seasoned police officers. Following the shooting death of Freddie Gray, long-standing mistrust of the police among many Baltimore residents grew. But the breadth and depth of these accusations were astounding. The Gun Trace Task Force was well known within the police force for its accomplishments in seizing alleged drug dealers, their caches, and their illicit weaponry. Jenkins was developing a reputation as a policeman in the division whose aggressive approach got results. His reputation as a cowboy who broke big cases through a frenetic pace of citizen stops and occasionally supplied evidence pointing up a chain of drug dealers was generally positive among current and former police officers. Jenkins, who had been praised as a rising talent by department leadership and rank-and-file officers early in his career, was a leader with a remarkable flair for delivering the goods. For his assistance in the 2009 recovery of 41 kilograms of cocaine, worth $1 million hidden in a man's truck at the time, it was touted as the largest cocaine seizure in the division's record. This was only one of Jenkins' numerous huge seizures. Did you know that Jenkins was awarded a Bronze Star for this huge achievement? Although it may seem strange, the Baltimore Police Department did not experience any instances of a police officer receiving both praise and criticism. In the world, Wayne Jenkins and his colleagues in plainclothes lived in success and wrongdoing were not mutually exclusive. In fact, they occasionally seemed to go hand in hand. A year-long investigation by the Baltimore Sun turned up warning signs that Wayne Jenkins wasn't a reliable policeman. His supervisors and others either failed to see the warning indications or choose to ignore them. Between 2006 and 2009, Jenkins was the subject of at least 4 lawsuits that claimed misconduct. 3 of them resulted in the plaintiff's victories, either as a result of jury verdicts or the city's decision to settle the case. The suits, however, had no internal repercussions for the police agency. Despite the lawsuits and subsequent video evidence from the squad's body cameras, Jenkins' supervisors did not review the arrests he was making. His legal defenses regularly failed in court, despite the fact that he was removing criminal suspects off the streets. 2014 saw the delivery of a surveillance video to the state's attorney's office in Baltimore's Police Integrity Division that seemed to show Jenkins perhaps putting drugs in a suspect's car. Authorities investigated the matter and even presented evidence to a grand jury, but finally determined that there wasn't enough proof to warrant an indictment. The same video reportedly led to a rare police department disciplinary probe against Jenkins, who was accused of misbehavior internally in 2015. This information comes from a copy of the case file that the Sun reviewed. The investigators proposed Jenkins be demoted and placed on paid leave, according to the department's then Internal Affairs Chief, Daryl DeSouza, who was the deputy commissioner at the time, allegedly intervened to halt the penalty. DeSouza denies remembering the encounter, despite having later served as a commissioner and currently being in jail on federal tax charges, before being named in 2016 to lead the Gun Trace Task Force, one of the most recognized plainclothes teams in the police. These allegations of misconduct were made while Jenkins was serving in a number of plainclothes units, a long time before he was appointed. It is hardly surprising that Jenkins' greatest crimes, drug trafficking and robberies, were able to flourish in Baltimore's tolerant plainclothes culture, even if they seem to have been kept secret. These devices regularly operated unattended. They were free to hold and release suspects, as well as develop informants. They sometimes discreetly stepped over the line from aggressive policing to violating civil rights. When Jenkins first started stealing is unknown. In 2011, his first theft was reported. By the time his criminal career had completely taken off, it had already involved high-profile robberies and break-ins, and he was making over $170,000 per year, in part due to overtime fraud. To learn more about their activities, the Sun obtained thousands of pages of court records, dozens of body camera recordings, hundreds of emails from the police department, and a small number of internal files. A reporter also viewed court case recordings pertaining to the arrests of the cops. Over 50 people were questioned, including victims, prosecutors, defense attorneys, and current and former police officers. Jenkins allegedly robbed some of the defense attorneys' clients. According to some of the attorneys, the bulk of his co-workers, including the police and prosecutors, told the Sun they were not aware that he and his policemen were involved in any illicit behavior. A drug associate alleged that Jenkins had been gathering narcotics off the street and profiting from their illicit sale for years before he was finally found guilty following an FBI investigation. Prior to joining the Gun Trace Task Force in 2016, some of his colleagues have also acknowledged stealing after an FBI investigation into the unit revealed the crimes committed by the GATF, Jenkins, and a number of other team members were taken into custody by federal agents. In June 2018, Jenkins was sentenced to 25 years in federal prison after entering a guilty plea to charges of racketeering, robbery, and record-keeping fraud. Corrupt police officers damage the reputation of their fellow officers who obey the law and honorably and devotedly serve their communities. They damage the reputation of the entire police force and make it harder for honorable officers to carry out their duties efficiently. The integrity of the judiciary and law enforcement is threatened by corruption, an immoral and unlawful practice. In addition to breaking the law, corrupt police officers damage the public's faith by taking bribes, covering up crimes, or employing excessive force. Furthermore, dishonest police officers can cause harm to innocent people by infringing on their civil rights, making false arrests, and acting abusively. This can result in erroneous convictions, the demise of the rule of law, and a loss of confidence on the part of the general people in the competence of the legal system to uphold their rights and interests. Public safety is compromised and the rule of law is weakened by corrupt police officers. They undermine public trust in the police and foster an atmosphere of impunity where criminals feel free to act without consequence because they know that some police officers can be purchased or intimidated. What conclusions have you drawn from Jenkins' tale? Do you have any additional examples of dishonest police officers who were punished? If so, please tell us in the comments section.